Today we are going to have a session which is in continuation to the last session that we had, that was an Excel basic skills. Today we are going to talk a bit more on the advanced form of it. We are going to get into some formulas, important critical formulas, how to use them, what scenarios to use them, from mixing two formulas as well, and kind of preparing logic for situations that you want to work out with your data set. So this is the intent of having this call. So it is less of a presentation and theory session and more of a practical session today. I hope that works out well with everyone. This is session 7, Excel Advanced. Intermediate to advanced level of formulas will be there today. I'll be just laying out a refresher of the layout that I had shown the last time. Whenever you open your Excel sheet on your system, you will have at the top a title bar, you will have a menu bar underneath that. Under that, you will have a toolbar or a ribbon which will have all the functionalities of Excel. As you select different items on the menu bar, your toolbar functionalities will change as well. There is a formula bar, whichever cell is selected in the spreadsheet area. If there is a formula or if there is a text which is contained in the cell, it will be shown in the formula bar, and you can validate those formulas here as well. It shows the cell number. There is a column bar which shows the name of the column in which the selected cell is there, and likewise there is a row bar. There is a major spreadsheet area or cells where your entire magic happens, where you do all of your working. It's a data set, so it's an array, a table on which you work on. And then there are a scroll bar, leaf bar, and status bar respectively, which have minor functions. So this is a simple refresher of how an Excel layout looks like. Once we are through with it, let's go to spreadsheet where all good things happen, where your entire working is happen. No matter how advanced the organization is, no matter how big the organization is, there is a possibility that they are using Excel somehow, somewhere, and therefore having that skills is very, very important. I have listed down a few basic functions which are there mathematically and textual functions, mathematical functions and textual functions, which are a must know for everyone. And then I'll show you where to fetch the rest of the functions, so that even though we don't cover them in our session, you know where to find them and you know how to use them. Okay. So going to the next one, first is basic Excel function to cover would be numerical. Now I would just want to switch to my basic work file question. This is the file that has been shared. What it has is data of 50 students. If I select it, you see count 50. There are 50 students whose roll number, first name, last name, and then subjects. In 6 subjects, what is the score that they have received out of 100 in their last examination that has been given. It's a randomized data, it's a completely random data. And even this data has been generated through an Excel function called as RAN. So very easy, very handy to use. Now let us start off with our functions one on one. Let us start off with a function called as sum. We want to know in total, how much or how many marks did these guys get. Okay. And I want to know these for the summation of these 6 subjects: math, bio, physics, chemistry, Hindi, and social sciences. So what I will do is, whenever you start a function in Excel, whenever you start an operation in Excel, you have to start it with an equal sign. This equal makes Excel understand that, okay, you're trying to give it a command, you're trying to attempt to tell it to do something. To do what? I would put here as sum, sum. I want Excel to add something. And sum has many variants: sum if, sum ifs. There are many kind of sum functions are there, but the most basic one is sum. And then you enter your argument. So any function has two parts. One is the name of the function, and then another one is the arguments of the function. The arguments is the data that you pass into that function for processing. Okay. So for sum, what data will you pass? You will pass the data that you want to add. So I will just go ahead and select these 6 cells where the data has been added, D2 to I2. I have just gone ahead and selected them with my cursor. I have closed the parenthesis. Parenthesis is your brackets. So any argument to a function has to go in a bracket, and every open bracket has to be followed by a closed bracket. This was your menu bar, this is your ribbon bar, this is your formula bar, this is your spreadsheet area, and we were to move on to the spreadsheet. Thankfully, we have just got this before I actually started working on the formula. So a formula always starts with an equals. This time we are going to do a summation or an addition, and therefore you will put a sum. You will open a parenthesis which says that, okay, now I'm going to put the arguments, I'm going to tell on what data to work on this function, and I'm just going to go and select those six numbers. I'm going to close the parenthesis and enter it. Just press enter it, and there I get that the total marks which were achieved by, or marks received by, Jovi Duffy was 313 in this exam. Now, good thing about Excel is it allows you to copy and paste, and it has two types of references. One is a dynamic reference and one is a fixed reference, and I'll show you an example of this. I have copied the same function here, d to I have summed it, total marks. Now, one at one location, what I will do is I will just copy this 313. I will select the rest of the cells under it for the rest of the students, with 49 students, and I will control V paste it. Control C for copy, control V for paste, and it automatically gives me the sum for each and every student for their marks. Now, one thing to notice here is this is D2I2 because it is in row number 2. The next one would be next two would be in D3I3 because it is row number 3. The next one is in row 4, D4I4, and vice versa. So this is called as a dynamic reference because when I am moving the position of my formula cell, it is also moving the position of the reference or the argument which has gone into the parenthesis, right? So रो टू का फॉर्मूला के अंदर रो टू के आर्ग्यूमेंट्स गए हैं, रो थ्री के फॉर्मूला में रो थ्री का आर्ग्यूमेंट्स गया है. बट इफ आई वर टू चेंज दैट and if I were to add one thing, I select that d2, I just put a cursor in it, and I press function f4. It will put a dollar sign in between. Either you press function f4 or you manually type a dollar sign before the row and the column number. Now it's a fixed reference. Now, even if I copy and I paste it underneath, it is still going to refer to the second row only. Even if I move the column, then also it is going to refer to the same column numbers only. So this is a fixed reference. Even if your position moves, your reference does not move. Your formula, parenthesis, arguments do not move. So that's one concept which I wanted to get away. If you have any questions here, please ask me. I want to be clear with dynamic and static references before we move ahead. So I take it that we are done with sum function. And now we know how much marks did every student get. Now, this form, this is basically a number. So I can change its data type. I can go to home tab. I can go to number. I can go to data type as number. It will give me, by default, it will give me 2 decimal points behind. I press this, it will give me lesser accuracy. If I do this, it will give me more and more accuracy, or rather precision, not accuracy, it will give me more precision. So I decide to have no decimals, and that is the total marks. Now I want to know how much percentage did each and every student achieve. Say, for example, I know there are six subjects, and every subject was a 100-mark paper. So it's a 600-mark total. So they have received 313, say, for example. 313 divided by, this sign divided by would be there on your keyboard itself. Divided by 600, and I enter it. It will give me it in number format, even though here it is written as general, or even if I write number, it will give me number format, but I want a percentage. So I can either go here and convert it to a percentage from more number formats, or here, or there is a percentage sign here. Once I have converted it to percentage, I know that this student has achieved 52%. I just copy and paste it everywhere, and now I have percentage of each and every student here. The third thing that I wanted to demonstrate to you was, okay, now what if I wanted to know, I was supposed to have a parents teachers meeting. I want to know by student what is the worst marks that a student has achieved in which subject, and what is the best marks that the student has achieved and in which subjects. Okay, so say for example, I say worst received marks, okay, and worst subject. These are two things that I would want, and these are two very there is one very simple function which people should know, and that is the minimum function. All you do is equal to min means minimum, and you select your subjects. I have selected math through to social sciences. Close the parenthesis, hit enter, and now you know that Joey Duffy has done horribly in physics and have received only 1 mark, and that you can copy and paste for the entire student's sheet. Now, more tricky is how to identify which subject has she received the worst marks in. And for that, there is a little more advanced function which I want you to see very carefully. What you can do is identify, there's a very powerful function called as index match, which I want to use. Have I used index match? What have I used here earlier? uh, Index match only. We'll do index match. So usually in corporates also there is a function which is used, which is called VLOOKUP or HLOOKUP, and there are certain limitations to that function, that your reference data against which you are looking up another data has to be either in the first row or the first column. That's not possible every time, and therefore I would not be using an index match function because it's not fair. Will not be using an HLOOKUP or VLOOKUP function because it's not powerful enough. Index match is much more powerful and dynamic. So I'll do just an equal to, I'll do an index. And okay, now to understand this function has 3 arguments. First is array. Array means the table in which your entire data set is contained. Second is your row number. What is the number of row in which your data is there? What is the number of column in which your data is there? If you combine the row number and the column number, you will get the exact cell address which data you want to fetch from the table. I'll just do a description here. So my entire data lies from math till social sciences, and we will make this a fixed reference because when we will copy paste this data, we don't want the row numbers to shift, so we will make this a fixed reference and therefore a dollar sign before. Okay, now how to find the row number? My row number will be 1, the first row. Why? Because I want to return the name of the worst subject, and that name of the subject is in the first row, so that is fixed. Now coming to column number, how do I know that which column do I need to pick? Physics could be, I mean, she could have been the worst in math, 11 could have been the worst. How do I find out? So to find that out, you find the match function. You write match, and this is called as nesting of functions. When you use one function inside another one, it is called as nesting. And while nesting, be very, very sure that your arguments are solid. Your fixed references, which are supposed to be fixed, or static references, are fixed. And when you copy paste them down, your static references are, your dynamic references are appropriately dynamic. And you close every parenthesis accordingly. Now, what do you pass in match as an argument? The value that you want to find out. My worst received marks is 1. I want to know in which subject did she get 1. Okay. My lookup array is again going to be the same as my index. So I just selected these 6 subjects and total marks again. I made it a fixed reference again. And match type is whether it should be less than 1, whether it should be equal to 1, whether it should be more than 1. Since I want an exact match, I will pass in argument 0. And Excel is very helpful because it suggests you the value to pass as well. So I put a 0 here. I close the parenthesis, first parenthesis closing for match. You see, there is a red here, there is a red here. But this index is still open. I'll have to put one more parenthesis to close the index as well. So now you have an index match. And when I enter this, what has been, just give me a minute. Row error, column error. This is good because I will be able to identify where the formula is coming from. Last time I showed you where to evaluate formula. So you go to formulas, you go to evaluate formula, and here itself I'm getting okay. Because I shouldn't have passed it to I should have passed it only through this. Yeah, sorry, my bad. I have to pass only the row number in which I have to find the worst received marks, and I have to make it a dynamic reference. Again, very good example. It should not be static, it should be dynamic because this is second row and we are searching for Miss Jovi Duffy in second row. When I copy this, when I paste this, it will give me each and every student's worst subject. For example, Persephone Walde is here. I think she got her worst performance in physics, 12 marks in physics, and it shows here, right? Or a sample, Miss Amaris Brady got her, again, everyone is performing very poorly in physics apparently, got worst in physics, got 2 marks in physics. This is their worst received mark. Now, similarly, you can also do it for your best received marks. This is for teacher. Imagine you're a teacher. Uh, any question on index math so far? Okay. I will assume that you are understanding so far that I have told, and I'll move on. In case if you have any question, feel free to ask questions. Now, just like we did for the worst received marks, we use the min function, we can use the max function. Okay. Max will give you the best out of the passed arguments. Open the parenthesis, select your subject marks, close the parenthesis, and done. And oh my god, Jovi Duffy has been amazing and she has taken Hindi. Apparently, my class is a non Indian class, but they have Hindi as a subject. I'm proud of them. Uh, and we'll just copy paste this and go back to home, change their justification to center because I'm a stickler like that. And there you have their best received marks. And likewise, I want to have their best subject. And this will give me an opportunity to demonstrate one more time a good use of index match. Index, my array is from here to here. It is a fixed reference. My row number is 1. My column number goes by match. I want to pass where did she get 100 in the column number. It has to be an exact match. Close my parenthesis. And she got 100 marks in Hindi. My god. She got 1 in physics, but she got 100 in Hindi. That's how it is. I think it's getting a little difficult to find identify which student is performing how. So I'll just go here, place my cell here, place my selected cell here, go to view, go to freeze panes, and freeze the panes. Now, even if I move down, I can still see the titles of the column. If I move to the right, I can still see the first 3 columns being frozen. This will help me navigate my sheet better because usually you have details, identifier details from which you can identify a data set at the very beginning in first column. So freezing panes is important or is useful when you have a large data set. So far we have done functions like sum, min, max, and index match, and basic arithmetic functions. Any questions so far? I think this is a little heavy to take in. Cool. So now I have best subject, worst subject. I also want to tell the parents what is the average performance of the student. So I just find out average marks, and that's a very simple formula. You just select equals average, and you go and select the subject marks and close the parenthesis and hit enter. I want it to be a number which is accurate up to, or which is precise up to one decimal, and that's it. Average marks is 52.2. She's an average student, and we get average marks for each and every student here, which I can discuss with the parents that this has been the average performance apart from the percentage. You would see your average marks and your percentage are just a difference of a multiplier of 100, but I just wanted to demonstrate the average figure, and that's why I have used this. There is a little neat there is a little neat formula called a subtotal which I wanted to describe, and therefore I will take subtotal. What it does is subtotal, I want sum of the entire data set. In maths, I want to know by subject how has the performance been, how does the performance vary by the subject, not by the students, so that I can talk to teachers where things are going wrong, right? So function numeral for subtotal, 9 is for sum, and I select the entire data set and close the parenthesis and hit enter. Now I just copy it for the rest of the subjects. It's just simple control C, control V. Same thing. This is total. There can be an average as well. I can do a subtotal. Average is 1. And I go and select that. And in a minute, I'll show you what it does actually. Uh, if I were to just do a sum, if I did a simple sum, then for math, when I put a filter, you know how I had to put filter, right? Select your data set, go to data and apply filter. And now when I go to filter and I want to see, say for example, for those students whose worst subject is physics, uh, my total here by normal methods is still 2500. Uh, but my subtotal for just these selected students, Jovi, Persephone, Charles, Amaris, Naila, Amaya, Rehit, it's 271. Average is 38 marks. So this way, when I am putting filters and when I am selecting a partial set of data, my totals and averages will change using this subtotal function, and therefore I find it very useful and neat to kind of show whenever you are doing any presentation to your management and they want to know, okay, I did sales at 26 DCs, but out of 26 DCs, what is the total sales at only 2 DCs, and we select only 2 in the filter. So say for example, if I want to know two subjects, maybe math and physics, how much was the total sales. So you will get these subtotals not by using sum but by using this function called as subtotal. You will have to pass the type of argument, 9 for sum, 1 for average, and select the data set and just hit an enter. So that's a very useful uh, data analysis function that I have just shown to you, subtotal. Any questions here? Okay, just give me a minute, I'll have some water. It's very interesting. I want to remove this rank in class. There is a fresh rank function called in Excel. You just find rank. Uh, you will find the number. So I want to do it by percentage. My reference would be the entire set, and my order would be descending order. That's it. I will have to make it a fixed reference as I move down because my number of students is limited, and she is ranked 25th in the class. I copy and paste, and I now know who is number one, who is number 2. If I filter, Caroline Fisher topped the class with 99 marks in social sciences and a 76 percentage of average marks. So you can actually rank your data. And now what you can do is you can sort smallest to largest, and now you will have all the students ranked in their highest to lowest as well. So you can sort by your rank as well once you have assigned the rank function, but I don't want sorted function right now because I want to demonstrate some more formula to you. So I will desort it again and we will use them as is, but I've just shown you a functionality that there is a possibility of ranking and sorting. Now uh, I want to uh, I want to assign, I want to find out how many subjects did they fail in. And anyone who got 33 or lesser marks in any subject has failed that subject. Okay. So I just want to know status by subject. Maths status, math, bio, physics, chemistry, math status, bio status, physics status, chemistry status, uh, Hindi status, and SS status. I'll just do that and I will put an if function. This is a logical function. Okay. If my marks in math, which is in cell number D2, uh, cell less than 34, which is 33 or below, then they have failed it. Otherwise, they have passed it. Okay, so you see the form of the function. Your test, your mathematical test, if the test is a success, the marks are less than 34, then it is fail. Otherwise, the value will be pass. So your Jovi Duffy has received 11 marks in math. And so when you evaluate this formula, uh, when you evaluate this formula, and you can see how the evaluation happen, they provide the value of D2 as 11. 11 is less than 34, that is true, and therefore she fails. Okay, I'll just copy paste this function to the rest of the sheet so that we don't have to, you know now how the entire formula works. And there you go. Now I want to know, if there is someone who did not fail in any of the subject, which means all pass, then what do I do? So there is a neat function called as count ifs. Count ifs, you pass, sorry, I have made a mistake, a typo. Count ifs, if I pass this entirely, and then I want to see how many did they pass. They should pass all 6. So they have passed in 4 subjects. They have pass count. Let's name it past subject count. Okay. And likewise, I can have fail subject count. You can write the same formula, or what you can do is you can just take 6 minus pass subject count. That will give you the fail subject count. So now you know these many students failed in these subjects or so. Now, if you wanted to know whether they have passed overall or not, overall pass, a person who has received more than 60% and they have failed less than 3 subjects has passed on an overall basis and will go to the next class. Okay, so this is again a neat formula. It will again, since it's a logical test, you are checking a condition, we will use if function. So you open if You open the parenthesis. I want to have two conditions. One is they have to have their fail subject count less than 3. Second, they have to have their marks or their percentage more than 60. 60 or more than 60, right? So I will just put the logical test if and, which means both of these have to be true. My first theory is whatever is there in column Y for that row has to be less than 3, and whatever is there in the percentage has to be greater than 59%. If this is true, then it is a pass. Otherwise, the student has failed and has to redo the class and repeat another year. And we have very poor performance, seems like. Okay, so overall pass or fail, that way you can get status. So this was an example of a nested if with and function, multiple conditions. I hope this is clear. Logical conditions. Okay. Now let's come a bit. So from what we wanted to do, we have done sum, min, max, average, countif. Power is very easy. I'll just show you one example here and delete it. Equals power 10. If I put a power 6, it will give me 10 into 10 into 10 into 10 6 times. It is very easy when you have when you have, say, for example, uh, okay, I'll share a real life example with you. For example, there was a deposit you made in the bank, and that deposit was about 10,000 rupees. You did it for 5 years, duration 5 years. Your annual interest is, say, 8% per annum, compounded annually. Then what will be the total sum of money at the end? Received money, that will be your deposit into 1 plus uh, actually I should use power here first. Power, your number would be 1 plus 8% for 5 years. This will be 14,000 rupees, 14,693. So your interest earned would be this much. At the end of 5 years, you would have earned 4,600 rupees as your interest, which is about 46%. If you would see, ideally, if it was a general uh, interest, then you would have received just 40%. But right now, what you have received is 46% because it was a compounded interest. So I've just shown you how to use power. Power means you first pass the number which has to be multiplied by itself, and then you pass how many times do you want to multiply that number. And this is a practical example of how to use uh, this scenario or this function. So this goes for your overall pass and fail. Let's do sorts and filter. I have shown to you data validation. Okay, there is a data validation also which could be done. For example, overall pass. This was overall pass. This was the last one that we had done, right? And there were two values that we wanted to pass there, either a pass or a fail. Now if I go select these cells, go to data, go to data validation, go to data validation, and allow a list from a source, and say it can be either pass or fail and nothing else. So it will allow me a drop down where I can put only pass or fail. And just if I want to try some other value, it will give me an error. Now the sheet is logged, the data is logged. I cannot put anything else. So that is your data validation. You can limit the type of values which could be input in a cells, which helps you maintaining the sanctity or cleanliness of data, which is very useful when you actually go for analysis of that data. When you put pivot tables and all, it becomes very useful. Now I will be covering some basic Excel functions related to text, and we'll call it a day after that. Actually, I think I'll do one more session after that if required for more detail, because I think it's getting pretty heavy. Now let's see if I want to get full name of the student. Right now I have first name and last name. I don't want first and last name together. I want first and last name separately. Together. I don't want them separately. So to join two functions, so basically a text is called as a string. Okay. And to join two strings of words or characters together, there is a function called as concatenate or concat. Okay. You select the first. In your arguments, you pass the first part, and then you pass the second part. There is already a blank space in the last name before the character D, and therefore I am not passing a blank space. But otherwise, what you could do is just a blank space as well. Any text which is covered by double inverted commas becomes a string as read by Excel. So you can do that. And here is your student full name, Jovi Duffy, in one single cell itself. There you get the student full name. Any questions on concatenate? You see, it's very clean now. Jovi Duffy, King Peterson. Now, if I wanted to know only students' initial IDs, so say for example, all the mark sheets had the initials on top, and I'm just cleaning the mark sheets up. Then, if I want the student initials, then how do I find it? And I will show you usage of a few functions: length of the string, left, right, mid, search. All of these I'll show you in these formulas. What I can do is I can add the initials from the first name and the last name. So first thing that I have to do is I have to add. Then I have to extract the first character. So left in name Jovi, just one character I need. So select which cell or select what string, select the number of characters you want to get and close it out. Again, left, uh, text, and then number of characters, I'll put a 2 here because I know that there is a gap in between. This is uh C3, this is B3, my bad. Left B3, not B, sorry, my bad. This should be C2. Yeah, thank you for your patience and apologies for that. So I'll just explain to you what I did, or I'll just rather evaluate the formula and show you how it worked. First, it passed B2. It says in the cell B2, give me the first Jovi, give me the first letter. It gave me a J. Then in cell number C2, it said give me the first two letters. So it gave me Duffy and first two letters, and Duffy ke aage there is a space already. So it gave me a space and a Duffy, ka D, which gave me a D. And when it joined them together, it gave me JD. So I have the student initials JD here. This is your length, sorry, not length. There is a part of length in here, but your concatenate left function. Same thing you can do for right as well. You select right, and then you just pass the number of characters. If I wanted to get the last three letters of someone's name, then Jovi. There is the space after Jovi as well. So from so there you have it. Okay, there goes your left and right. Now come to concat हो गया है. Okay, now we want to find out what is the length of the functions. If I want to know length of name, you can use len, which will give you length, and select it, and that's it. It will give you the length. Now I know already that this length still contains, it's a 5 letter. Why does it say 6 letter? Because there is one space after this. Instead of removing that space, what I can do is from my formula I can just remove one. So it will give me the length of the name. This is the correct length of the name. Okay, same thing I can do for surname as well. Sometimes these length, character count and all becomes very important when you're using some text based data analysis, and which is why I'm just showing this to you. It doesn't really make sense in the scenario that I'm using, but it does. Okay, now I'll show you something useful. So say for example, I had the length of the entire full name, and I want to remove, and I want to find out what is the length of the surname. Okay, so I will find this out, and I will search where is the space. I know there is one space between the name and the surname, so I will find out where is the space within Jovi Duffy, and that's it. So it will give me 6 right now because there are two spaces in between, as I have said, and so -1 to adjust for that, because that's how I got the data set. And now you will have the correct length of the names and surname. I will show you a few examples. Uh, let's select those who passed for sake of understanding better. King 4, Peterson 8, Caroline 8, Fisher 7, Cecilia 7, Randall 7. So you will get the length of name and surname accordingly. Two different methods we used. We used a simple length. We used a simple length formula, and then we used length minus search formula, and we search for the space between the first name and the last name. So there you have it. This is how you can find out the length of the name and surname, and you can separate out the name and surname as well. So if I were to get just Jovi first name, I think this is going to be important when people are going to work on your CVs and they just want to know what is the length. Just give me a minute. View. Okay, so from left I want, from this text, characters till I find this. My bad. Jovi. And now that way you can find out someone's first name, and same way you can find out someone's last name from your full name as well. If you have received it from a, say for example, you have floated an online Google form and you want to know the first name and you want to write a mass mail, so you can use this to just derive their first names as well. Very useful, very handy. And now I just want to give you an example of nested ifs and we will call it a day. uh, Type of performance. I want to define different slabs of performance. So I just want to know, just a moment, let me unfreeze this. This is becoming a bit problematic for me. It's a system issue. Okay. If a student has gone and received, uh, I'll do it by percentage probably. That's what I want to do. Has received more than 75%, then they have done great. If not, then I want to give more conditions. So I will do a nested if, comma, if not, then if a student has done more than 65%, then they have done good as per me. Else if they have done greater than 60%, then they have done average, they are okay. Otherwise, they have failed. That's how I want it to read. And now I'll close the parenthesis. First, second, third. Three parentheses here. And so this student has failed in terms of performance. I'll just copy paste. I don't need to use fixed references here. There can be dynamic references. And now I have type of performance as well. Okay. Uh, I think we will call it a day here. Maybe pivots and charts is something we can pick some other day. I think this covers your left, right, mid, length, search, and concatenate, all of those functions. So common functions, common Excel shortcuts also, we will share this we will share this file with you, solved file with you, so that you can go through the functions and use them. So I'd like to close the session for today here, because I think these formulas have become pretty heavy for the day.